G'day, Gio again. Thanks for coming into the preliminary video. Hopefully in the next 20 odd minutes I'll explain to you, one, how the industry's always worked, two, why I believe that's incorrect, and hopefully you'll see that as well once I've explained it, three, what it's actually costing you to run this system as it currently is, and four, a way forward doing the course that I've designed up for builders and that I'm looking to facilitate and download myself. So let's look at how this occurs. You know, I've been coaching now for about 3.5 years, and I've coached many builders, and essentially across the board, what they'll tell me is that the industry or the client market will not pay for builders to charge the quote. And I go, well, it's interesting, right? They're not conditioned to do this. And in part, they're probably right. But I started to look at the process of what a client goes through to go and price or to design their home. So, you know, you think about it. A client wakes up one day and they're having a chat and they're on the deck and they've got an expanding family and they want to do a renovation or build a brand new home on their inner city block. This is a custom home build. It's traditional for what we do in inner city. We go and redevelop it. So what's the first thing they do? They go, oh, well, let's do this. We'll go and see a designer. Now, that designer's not going to do anything without charging him money. So he'll do up a preliminary design and, you know, make sure they fluff about with it, make sure the decks are right and the bedrooms are right. We've got, you know, some en-suites and, you know, powder rooms and whatever it is that the features, the new kitchen. And they get all of that. And if we're at the right place and the designer's right, and we've got a good relationship with him, we'll push the buttons as a client and we'll go to engineering. Now the engineering's not doing this for free. He's going to do this and he's going to charge as well. And the engineering will then go to soil tests and he's charging. And then from the soil test we'll probably get a survey done. And that guy's doing the contours and the light alignments. And we'll probably maybe need some town planning. Might need a development approval or something like that. It'll certainly need building certification. And that guy's getting paid. We'll need energy efficiency reports. And that guy gets paid. And bushfire reports. And that guy gets paid. So our premise that the client isn't conditioned to pay throughout this process is, I think, flawed. I think it's incorrect. They've paid the designer. He's not doing it for free. They're paying the engineer. He's not doing it for free, or they're not doing it for free. Soil test surveyor, town planner, certifier, engineers, report bushfire. At this point in time, they've got all of their information and they do this brilliantly designed process. They go to not one of us, but 3 builders. And we get nothing. 3 builders will go and spend their money looking to price this work, and they'll do it for free. No one here is doing that for free. I mean, the soil tests on average are worth, I don't know, $450 to $600. He's not doing that for free. And so here we are doing this work down here for free. So what I want, if we agree that this process is right, you know, if we agree that the client is engaged in this process and they're definitely spending money along the way, then all we've got to work out is why we aren't charging. Now, is that because they won't pay it? Or is that because we don't believe we're worth it? Good question, right? And certainly one I had to work through when I decided I was going to start to charge the price work. And there was a lot in that, a lot of my own self-worth stuff that came out of it. So to help you to do that, I want to tell you and give you some information on what it's costing at this point in time for you to not charge. So if I took a $500,000 project, and on today's terms, that's not unusual for an inner city from the builders that I've spoken to, and certainly from my own experience on this, it costs me about 20 to 24 hours to do a bill of quantities and an estimate for that project. If I charge that at $100 per hour, then I'm looking at $2,000 to $2,400 to price this work. Now you'd say, oh well, $2,400 or $2,000 to $2,400 to price $500,000 worth. That's not too bad. The issue that we have here though is that we're not earning $500,000. If that was all going in our pocket, fantastic, but it's not. As most builders know, we're only on average charging about 20% margin, and in fact we're only charging 20% markup, which is about 17.5% margin, but for figures and for ease on this, we'll use 20%. I'll talk about markup versus margin in the program. But let's just say at 20%, gross profit, we're looking at $100,000. But we don't make $100,000 either. And so we'd still say that $2,000 to $2,400 is okay to make that, but we don't make the $100,000. In that, we've got to take out overheads. That's our leases for our vehicles, plant machinery, staff wages, whatever it happens to be. And on industry benchmarking in this country, this is where it really kicks in. A business, a custom home builder in Australia, currently makes 4.7% net profit before owner's salary. That's before you pay yourself, 4.7%, right? So that reduces that $100,000. The rest is going in overheads. Reduces that $100,000 to $23,500. Now, we started with 500 up here and we're down at 23,500. That's what we pocket. Now, I don't know about you, but the work that we've got to create and do and the time it takes to sell this stuff and the people we've got to meet and all the rest of it, that's a lot of work to earn $23,500. And again, if we looked at this from this point of view here of $2,400, we're spending about 10% of what it costs or what we're making, right? But here's the kicker. Again, on industry benchmarking, we have to price 4 projects to win 1. Which means that we're spending between $8,000 and $9,600 to win $23,500. Now, when you start putting it in those sorts of figures, now that's starting to look a little ridiculous. We've got to actually spend $9,600 up front to earn $23,500 before we pay ourselves a wage. That's madness. But here's the real kicker to this. This is the part that is absolutely astounding. We then have to multiply that by 3 because our industry back here and our marketplace gets 3 builders on average to price the job. So the industry is paying $24,000 to, I think it's $28,800. Yep, $28,800 to win $23,500. We're spending more as an industry than what the job's worth. Now, I didn't need to go through those figures to work out what it was costing me. For me, and the reason why I'm so passionate about this, is because in 2009-10, in the midst of the GFC in Queensland, where the industry was really down 35% below the 35-year average, we were in a very deep recession at this point in time. Lending was tough, everything was tough. Builders were going to the wall, left, right and centre. I priced $22 million worth of work in 2009-10 for 4.2 million of it to go ahead. That means nearly 18 million of it got shelved. Couldn't get funding, people lost their jobs, banks pulled finance, you name it, but $18 million worth of work didn't go ahead. 4.2 went ahead. We won 1.8 of it, which is about 40% of what it was that was actualised, and it was 55% of the work based on the amount of jobs that had gone through. So that was a pretty good rate of success as far as what went through, but a horrible return based on what it cost us, because it cost me 100 grand to do that year. And on $1.8 million, I can tell you right now, you don't make enough on $1.8 million based on this sort of figures here to cover $100,000 in estimating, let alone pay myself. Remembering that, you know, the industry is earning 4.7% net profit. If I'm turning over 1.2 million, that's about 67K. That's what you're paying yourself at the end of the day for all the risk and everything that you take. So the industry's paying too much and you're paying too much to do this work. And we say, as the builders, that the market won't pay the costs. But as we've already determined here, they're paying all the way along. So they are conditioned to pay along here. One of the areas that I believe that we can substantially support the clients is inject a process here. And give them some pricing indications at that point there, and give them something very, very professional. And that'll be part and parcel of what we do within the course. So this is the status quo. This is where we're at. I wonder in here, who created this as far as the marketplace? I have a feeling that we've co-created this, but if we're going to change it, it won't be the clients or it won't be the marketplace that's going to change this. It needs to be us as builders. We need to see our value. We need to learn what it is costing us, because I'm pretty sure most people are unawares as to what this cost is. We also need to learn that the price that we pay as people, as families, as marriages, for sitting in somebody else's lounge room of an evening, talking to them about their dreams and their aspirations, is costing us way more than the money that is sitting here. My own personal journey on that will attest to it. We lose our house and it begins the degeneration of my marriage, and I lose my marriage at the same time. Not at the same time, some years later, but the stresses of running that construction business. And I am absolutely passionate about ensuring that good people like my wife and I, or my ex-wife and I, never have to go through that again. And if I can do something to prevent that from occurring, then I was just bound to do it. And so that's what I've done. I've developed up a 3-day program. In that 3-day program, we're going to cover off on all of the things that you're going to need to be able to front a client, or a designer for that matter, propose your wares as far as a builder is concerned, add value along the process there to all concerned, the designer and the client, and do that in such a way that you'll end up getting paid. Day one of the program is the psychology of sales. In this, as a builder, that's what I've had to learn to become. Looking after the trade group, looking after the client's aspiration, but also anxieties about having their home ripped apart and demolition if we're doing renovations and stuff like that. Living with in-laws, you know, the extra financial burdens that occur. I mean, tell me if you're a builder out there that isn't dealing with all of the stresses of everybody else, inclusive of your trade group. So the psychology of sales comes into this. How do you manage yourself in this process? How, when a declining market like I was in GFC, did I manage the courage to ask somebody to pay me to do what everybody else was doing for free? And on my very first go of this, in the worst of pitches that I've ever presented, still to this day, the very worst pitch I've ever presented, I was down in the face and I couldn't speak, and I said, oh, you know, we sort of charge X amount for that. The client said, mate, can you speak up a bit? I didn't hear what you said. And I said, well, we charge to do that. and we charge X amount to do it. And he says, right. And he leaned back and he grabbed a checkbook and he wrote on that checkbook the amount that I'd said to him. And a cheque made out to me, gave me the cheque and said, mate, go and pay. I'm happy to pay you to price it based on what you've told me that you're going to provide. Worst pitch I've ever done. Now you'd think getting into the car, you know, going home would be a celebration. But having the backstory of moving my family out of their home and the guilt in and around what I was wearing on that and some other difficult circumstances that had occurred, you know, on another project where I'd spent in excess of 50 hours with a client pricing their work, but not only pricing it, specifying it, have the client turn up to my home with a gift basket one day of a value of about 150 bucks and said, oh look, we'd love to give you this gift basket for all the work that you've done. My husband's given all of the information that you've provided for us to his best mate who's a builder, and he's going to be building the home. At that point, and you know, not to be too personal about this, that was the start of the demise of my marriage, because I went inside and I had a bloody melting point moment. Held my head in my hands and just went, what the hell do I think I'm doing here? How am I ever going to feed my family doing this? I'm going to meet the commitments that we've engaged in with schools and rents and all of the rest of it. And, you know, took that into the marriage. So my passion around teaching you guys how to do this is to understand how do you then stump up and ask for a cheque in that point in time. Well, I've done it, and I can tell you. I can tell you in this day what we'll be looking at as far as a declining market or an improving market, and what is going on in the client's heads. What's going on in your head in that moment? Because the biggest thing I've found that I've had to manage across this sales process is myself. My fear, my lack of value, my poor judgment in and around what I'm doing to supply information to the client at their critical moments. And until I finally learnt to trust the process, until I learnt to finally back myself and know that I was valuable enough and that my family who I was providing for were valuable enough to actually charge these clients, that's when it just started to turn around for me. And what actually started to happen was in the sales process, which we go into day 2 on, which is where we develop up the sales process and link all of the items together, and we show you a systemised way of presenting this, but not just presenting it, of backing yourself up with it and what to present using the systems that you've currently got in your business, but also if you need to, adding systems, and we'll give you templates and work on that. Using that information to then present that and get paid to do it, right? And then on day 3, actually physically doing the templated works through the sheets that we give you and the systems that we provide for you in our resources folders. You will then take them, customise them for your business, put your logos on them, fill out the information specific to your business, making sure that it's all presentable. You can then put that into what I call a smash pack or a marketing pack that you can leave with clients. You'll turn up, it'll be branded in your name. I mean, you'll get a printing company to go and do that, but you can design all of that in the room. We'll get you to do, you know, workshop events in there where you'll start to pitch it, and you'll run through the process that we've gone through on day 2. So you get some practice in there and some direct feedback, not only from me, but from the people in the room. Won't be you against the whole room. There'll be small workshop stuff, and we'll break the room up into small groups. So it'll be less intimidating, but certainly valuable enough so that you can do this without having that. So you should be able to go out once you've finished day 3 and pitch this to a client and nail it. Not sit there muttering under your breath like I did, looking really forlorn and lacking in confidence, and just being lucky enough that the guy paid me. If he hadn't have paid me, I wonder whether this process would even be in existence today, because my confidence was so low at that point. The lucky part was he paid me, and that gave me enough confidence to go on to the next one. At day 3, you're going to be far more prepared than I was, I can promise you that, because it was horrible. When I look back at it, it's nothing but a joke, but it was horrible. And day 3, by the end of day 3, you will be fully prepared to go out and do this. Now, don't get me wrong, you'll probably be nervous. For those of you that are great speakers and you've already got your sales process fairly nailed, this is just going to polish it and get you paid. So if this is of interest to you guys, custom home builders, doing works for people, you can't generate the sort of money that the project home builders do because you can't generate the volume they do. Every job is different. Every job needs pricing. Whereas a project home builder, every job is just churned out. They knew it because they built it 6 weeks ago, 6 months ago. If that resonates for you, if everything or anything that I've said in this video resonates for you, click on this link below. It'll take you through to the portal where we'll process you through for payments and whatnot. I really look forward to joining you or with you in these workshops and improving our industry as a whole, but more than that, ensuring that your families stay together, ensuring that you're in your home, in your lounge room, right, rather than somebody else's. Gio from Raw Solutions. Look forward to seeing you.